Fear doesn't win because it's powerful. Fear wins because it's believable. What if I told you the greatest lie you've ever heard didn't come from television? It didn't come from social media. It didn't come from your parents. It didn't come from your enemies. It came from you. Or maybe a better way to put this, it came from a voice you've listened to for so long. You stop questioning it. The voice says, not yet, maybe later. You need more time. You need more experience. You need more certainty. And because this sounds reasonable, you believe it. The lie doesn't show up like a lie. It shows up like wisdom. It shows up looking like caution. It shows up looking like responsibility. And that's why it's so dangerous. The first lie is simple. It says, you're not ready. Not today. Not yet. Just a little bit more preparation. A little more research. A little more planning. Then you'll begin. But here's the truth. You weren't waiting to become ready. You were waiting to become certain. And certainty never comes. Because if certainty exists, faith would be unnecessary. Every person God called in Scripture felt unprepared. Moses felt unqualified. Gideon felt weak. Jeremiah felt too young. And Peter felt inadequate. Yet God called on them anyway. The lie says, wait until you're ready. But God often calls people before they're ready. The lie says, wait until you're qualified. But God often qualifies the called. The lie says, wait until you're confident. But confidence is often built through obedience, not before it. The lie wanted you to believe readiness comes first. But readiness is usually the result of action, not the prerequisite for it. And so people wait and wait and wait. And years pass, opportunities pass, dreams pass, purpose passes. Not because they were incapable, because they were convinced to delay. And delay is one of the most effective weapons ever created.
I don't need you to worship me. I don't need you to destroy your life. I don't need you to become evil. I only need one thing. Delay. Delay your calling. Delay your purpose. Delay your obedience. Delay your growth. And delay your potential. Because if I can convince you to wait, I can make sure you'll never become who God created you to be.
The second lie is tomorrow. Tomorrow, the most dangerous words ever created. Not because tomorrow is evil, but because tomorrow feels harmless. I'll start Monday. I'll start next month. I'll start next year. I'll apply later. I'll create later. I'll change later. I'll forgive later. Fear rarely says no. Fear says later. And later becomes never. Life does not stop moving because you stop moving. Time continues. The clock continues. The years continue. And one day you look up and you realize you've spent years preparing for life you've never started living. So I share with you a letter from my future self.
Dear me, I wanted to write you while there was still time. You kept saying tomorrow, and tomorrow kept becoming another year. You thought there would always be another opportunity, another season, another chance to begin, but life kept moving. The clock never waited. And one day I realized
I had some more time preparing for life than living it. The dream didn't die because it was impossible. It died because I delayed it. Not for a day, not for a month, for years. If you're reading this, stop waiting. Start now. End of letter. The biggest lie isn't that you fail. The biggest lie is that failure is final. Every person you admire failed repeatedly. The difference is they didn't worship failure. They learned from it. Failure isn't fatal, but hesitation can be. Because every year spent waiting is a year you'll never get back. And then I realized something. Fear wasn't my enemy. Fear was just the messenger. The real enemy was the lie. The lie that said, I'm not ready. The lie that said, tomorrow. The lie that said, what if I fail? The lie that said, stay where you are. What if the greatest tragedy isn't failure? What if the greatest tragedy is reaching the end of your life, meeting the person God intended you to become, and realizing you never became them? Not because God didn't call you, because you never answered. There was a season where I thought my greatest enemy was failure. Then I thought it was fear. Then I thought it was other people. But the truth, my greatest enemy was the version of myself that kept saying, I'll start tomorrow. And every tomorrow moved me further away from the man God was trying to build. What if the person standing between you and God's purpose isn't the devil, isn't fear, isn't your circumstances? What if it's the lie you've repeated so many times, you started calling it truth? Because the moment you stop believing the lie, the prison disappears. The bars were never real. Only your belief in them. So here's the poem I would like to share. Fear never needed me to stop. It only needed me to stop myself. It handed me doubt, and I called it wisdom. It handed me delay, and I called it patience. It handed me excuses, and I called them reasons. It whispered, tomorrow, and I called it a plan. It whispered, you're not ready, and I called it preparation. It whispered, what if you fail? And I called it caution, until one day I looked at the life I wanted and the life I had, and I realized the distance between who I was and who God created me to become wasn't talent, wasn't opportunity, wasn't luck. It was a lie I chose to believe. And one day I realized the door has always been open. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. This is The Inner War. See you in the next one.